In verse 36, Shri Krishna shares, Shakyaha, what I am teaching you, this is possible. And this does provide some hope to Prince Arjuna, but he follows up with, what if I'm trying and I don't reach the end? You're sharing this is possible, but what if it's not possible for me in this lifetime? Shri Krishna shares in verse 40. This is our fourth verse for chapter 6. A very hope-filled verse. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Partha Naiveha Namutra Vinashastasya Vidyate Nahi Kalyana Krit Kaschit Durgatim Tata Gacchati. Shri Krishna is saying, joy. I'm going to just pick up on one of the words and then read the translation. Shri Krishna calls Prince Arjuna, Tata, my child. Which 85-year-old calls another 85-year-old my child? But he shares, you are my child. When Prince Arjuna went from his cousin to his disciple, Shri Krishna smiled. Now Shri Krishna is offering even more closeness. You are my child. O Partha, neither in this world nor in the next world is there destruction for him, none, verily, who strives to do good, O my son, ever comes to grief. The implication of this verse is, in the law of karma, the more you give, the more you get. You take one step towards self-realization, you will never take that step back. Your body being alive or not is irrelevant. I had also shared with you yesterday about every input creates an imprint. If you're going to be alive for one more minute, but you are desiring a balanced, focused mind, and then you die, this imprint will stay with you until you pick up another body and you will be more balanced and focused. That's why in the forthcoming verses, Shri Krishna specifies, for the one who is engaged in self-development, but there's still traces of raja or aggressiveness, where are they born? In their next lifetime, they are born into a family that is filled with Shri and Shuchi. Outwardly, they're prosperous. Inwardly, they're pure. In contrast, the one who's engaged in self-development and has traces not of raja, but sattva. There's a quietness, but not a silence. In their next lifetime, they are born into a home of dhi and yogi. Dhi means externally, there's lots of knowledge. Internally, there's lots of effort. Shri Krishna finishes this chapter by sharing what a yogi is. A yogi is the one who is the closest to being yukta, which means Shri Krishna, divinity. Before this chapter, our concept of a yogi is someone who's flexible. After this chapter, the concept of a yogi is someone who's free. Please reflect on verse 40. about the family you're presently born in, about how self-development is the only investment that lasts. From chapters 3 through 5, there is a strong message about intention. The difference between karma and karma yoga is the yoga or the intention. Intention leads to integration. We have a lot of negative self-talk. We have a lot of negative self-doubt, and so on. These are signs of disintegration. Me verbalizing it, me thinking it. Intention leads to integration, where there's less doubt, there's less need to talk. When this integration is complete, that is infinity, and that is what happens in chapter 6. 3, 4, 5, integrate, integrate, integrate. In chapter 6, the final integration manifests, that is through contemplation, and one re-becomes infinity. What is the utility of being infinite? We would only ask that question if we are attached to our own individuality. One of the best points of utility in this chapter, really in this whole map, is in verse 22. And I've shared this with you many times. Yasmin stita, the one who is centered. How did they become centered? Through contemplation. Na dukkena gurunapi vichalyate. Defining each of these words. Na means no. Dukkena, sorrow. Guruna, heavy sorrow. Vichalyate is moved. For the one who's centered, even when they experience heavy sorrow, they're not pushed or pulled. Is there anyone here who doesn't want that? When we're experiencing sorrow, and if we think of the resources we have access to, our stocks, our bank accounts, how much would you pay to just forget about that sorrow? We can have that experience, but it requires intense intention, integration, finally, contemplation. We have explored in this chapter verse 5, verse 9, verse 35, and verse 40. Shri Krishna shares in verse 40, if you are engaged in kalyana krit, if you're engaged in development towards kalyana, that is development towards realization, then na durgatim, your efforts will never be wasted. What you do today to make your mind quieter, there will be fruition today, tomorrow, the day after. Shri Krishna extrapolates this to the next lifetime. In these verses on contemplation and post-contemplation, Shri Krishna is emphasizing, I've also shared with you, the importance of steadiness. Your steadiness, you may feel, is not enough. Your steadiness is creating an imprint. One of our highest vocation students, she's joining us now. She had shared with me a morning last week. She was using a new laptop. Zoom was not registering for her. So while I was teaching contemplation, she couldn't see me or hear me, but she still stayed in the class and contemplated. That's the steadiness that makes one a yogi. That's where I'm going with this. The steadiness leads to one being a yogi. And that's why Shri Krishna shares in the final verses that a yogi is greater than a tapasvi, greater than a jnani, and greater than a karmi. A karmi is someone who's engaged in karma yoga. The evolution of that is a jnani is someone who's engaged in jnana yoga. A tapasvi is one who is practicing contemplation. A yogi is one who's completed contemplation. What is the trajectory in the Bhagavad Gita? What is the trajectory of our evolution? Karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, and then you become yukta. You become content.